Welcome to Providence Hill Presents Exit Stage Right with Martha Sullivan. This is a show where we talk about ways to build, buy, and sell your business so you can exit stage right into your next adventure and achieve the financial security that you are looking for. Whether you are currently the owner of your own business, you hope to be a business owner at some point, or you are a kick-tail manager in your organization. We will break down the business of business and today also balance in your world and life. I am Martha Sullivan, and I am so excited to have you join us here at Exit Stage Right today. You know, in preparing for today's show, I was thinking about the past week and what a week of contrasts it has been for me. And in many ways, it is the tale of two aunts. And I really want to honor both of these aunts that have been in my life for so many, many years. The first one, Marilyn, is, I guess you would call her an aunt-in-law. She is my husband's aunt, and the other woman is Anne, my aunt Anne. But first, let me tell you about Marilyn. My goodness, what a amazing woman Marilyn is, and what a career she had. She is one of these women that is tough as nails. Corporate professional at a time when, by all accounts, she was outnumbered in the corporate suites in terms of the gender game, which is ironic in so many ways as I reflect on her career, because she was one of two daughters in a family farm. My mother-in-law and her sister Marilyn grew up on a farm, and Marilyn was the one who didn't want to go to college. And it was her sister, my mother-in-law, that basically put her foot down and told her, as a sister, no, you are definitely going to college. And had it not been for that, she would not have met the love of her life, Carl, and nor would she necessarily have gone on to have the type of career that she did and the type of life and family that she did. She married well, and she raised a family of daughters who are likewise independent-minded women, and they found their way in the world as well, just as Marilyn did. But what I love about Marilyn is she always speaks her mind, and she has a way about her that pretty much usually gets the results she's going for and what she wants. And at age 88, she, following the full life and in love with her husband, Carl, he died several years ago. She went on to make new friends and started traveling, had a new male traveling friend at age 88. She was buzzing around, enjoying life. And just a phenomenal woman. So that's a little bit of background on Marilyn. Anne, my aunt Anne, she and Marilyn really have some similarities, but the two similarities that they have is that they're both fiercely independent and very strong women. But beyond that, I think those are the two things they can say that they have in common. Anne started out in her adult life going into the convent. She was a nun for many, many years, and she left the convent after, I don't know the exact number. She left the convent, but she is just so fun-loving. She's quick-witted. She's just smart. As she would say, living out in Massachusetts, she's wicked smart, and would do anything for you. And over time, she developed a phenomenal career in her own right in education and ministry. And after leaving the convent, it was not the driver of leaving the convent, after leaving the convent, and met the love of her life, my Uncle Carmen. And they have my cousin, lovely daughter as well. And, you know, both of these women were front and center for me last weekend. You know, I very much am very close to Anne in many regards, considering that I've been living in Wisconsin pretty much all of my life, and she in New England. We've formed a relationship over the years, and so I wanted to make time to go visit. And this year we lost her last sibling out of a family of 7, my father and her and 5 others. The last brother passed away earlier this year. And so I made a commitment that I wanted to go visit and spend time with Anne while she was still doing quite well, and just make sure I was connecting with family and spending time with family. And so that's what I did last weekend. I took the long weekend, the first time in a really long time that I had a long weekend, and I flew out to New England to visit with her. And oh my goodness, we had such a good time. It was very relaxed. We didn't have anything structured or planned. We just kind of hung out and, you know, went for ice cream and sat on a porch and just had a fantastic time. Lots of laughter, some family lore, and I promised a big reveal in the description of today's notes. I reconfirmed that, yes, indeed. Well, many people, especially people that have reported to me in the past, often suspected that I was a witch. And they were saying it in, you know, ways that, you know, yeah, I mean, okay. But we actually reconfirmed that I am a descendant of one of the Salem witches. I'll get you, my pretty, and your little dog too. No, actually, one of the Salem witches, Mary Esty, was in our family tree, and it was on the same side as my father and Anne. And we came to find out that after Mary was, shall we say, murdered because of the whole Salem witch trials, the family actually moved to the same city that my cousin is now living in. So it was kind of full circle in many ways, but it still cracks me up that, yes, indeed, contrary to popular belief, I am indeed part of witch. Yay. Yes, indeed. Anyway, so it's little things like that we were able to tap into. Meanwhile, on the same morning that my husband put me on a plane to Boston at what time did he? I think he dropped me off at about 4:30. It was an early morning. Later that morning, he got a text from one of his cousins, and unfortunately, Marilyn had suffered a stroke. And so here you had 2 contrasts in 2 aunts, 2 wonderful women, and it just reinforced why Eric dropped me off at the airport that morning and why I was making the trip out to see my aunt and uncle. And so that it really, you know, it kind of strikes a chord, if you will, because ultimately the stroke ended up being, you know, taking Marilyn down for the count. And ultimately we lost her this past week, which is a tremendous loss for our family and for her daughters. And I wanted to share that. And why do I share that on a show like Exit Stage Right, you might be thinking about? Well, yeah, we focus a lot on ways to build your business so that ultimately it can provide the financial security we look for in our lives and our worlds, and provide for our financial security. But there is another aspect to exiting Stage Right, and that's really about making sure every step of the way we're building the kind of life that we want to have. And that's a life really of balance, and a life where we are living our best life, one that does have balance and worth and plentiful wealth, if you will. And I don't mean wealth as, as we define it from a financial perspective. That's only one part of it. It's not just defined by the amount of moolah we have, but how full our cup is in every aspect, and how well we're able to serve others. And what we talk about a lot within the conversations I have with Providence Hill, as well as the Family Business Consulting Group, is that there's this three-legged stool. We want to maximize the value of our business. We want to make sure that we have a plan for our financial security, but we also need a plan for ourselves. And how do we achieve our best and brightest life that we're looking for? So that's why I bring it here, because it's part of that three-legged stool, that there is life outside of work, and we want to make sure that the work we're doing is giving us joy, but the life we're living outside of that work is also giving us that joy that we seek. So ironically, I got back from the long weekend, flying home late night on Monday, and a day or two later, I'm on a call with a mastermind that I am a part of. And the mastermind conversation actually challenged me to ask myself some questions about where I'm at, and where's the balance in my life? Where do I see myself in 5 years? All really important questions. The mastermind is led by a gentleman by the name of Chris Winfield and his partner in life, Jen Gottlieb. They co-founded and co-own Superconnector Media. And what started out as my taking a course to learn about promotion in media actually has turned into a fantastic community of friends. And we talk about so much more than just how to promote our businesses. We talk about how to strengthen them, as well as how to strengthen ourselves. And so in the call, this one was actually led by Chris, and in the call, he actually encouraged us to go through this exercise called Your Ideal Scene. And we actually we took time on the call. People got out pens and paper, not on the keyboard, but pens and paper. And we ran through this Your Ideal Scene exercise that Chris has. And I do want to share it with you, because it's not the first time that I've done it. I've done it before, but it is so powerful to set aside 40 to 60 minutes and grab your own notebook and grab your phone for the timer piece on it, and just set aside 3 to 5 minutes for each of the questions. And I'm going to bring them up in just a second. 3 to 5 minutes to work through these questions sites. And as I said, I've done this before, and I'm really curious now to go back and look at my answers. I haven't had a chance to do that yet, but go look at my answers and see how they've morphed over time, and where I'm building and growing, and both in all aspects of my life is the best way of putting it. And I really want to see how much also I've accomplished from what I wrote down back then, because there's a real power in writing these things down and ultimately forming them into our goals, and then doing a check back. Having this vision in our lives actually propels us forward. It's manifestation. That's the real power of this exercise. So I'm going to share the screen here again for a moment and take you through very quickly what the exercise looks like. We're not going to do it here. We don't have time for that today. But as I said, I encourage you to find the time to do it yourself. So here is the backdrop, and a special thanks to Chris at Super Connector Media. Also, he has this copyrighted and is also available on twiceasproductive.com. So kudos and acknowledgement to Chris for this. But here's the backdrop for your ideal scene exercise. It's really important that you take a moment and take a deep breath, center yourself, and think about imagining that 5 years have passed. So put your head into the future. You are meeting your future self. And imagine you are living your ideal perfect life, exactly how you would always want it to be. You're doing the things that you want to do. You're being who you want to be. You have what you want to have. And let your imagination just wander. Just let things go. Encourage yourself the way you would encourage your 5-year-old self to play along with different possibilities that could be in your life if you just dare to dream. So if you want to do this exercise, get out a piece of paper and pen and answer these questions, and do it by hand. This is super, super important. I know that when I'm writing, things flow out of me. Writing with pen and paper, things flow out differently than they do on the keyboard. And there's actually scientific research that backs the fact that your brain operates differently when writing paper and pencil or paper and pen versus typing. So it's really important to do this in the old-fashioned retro way, paper and pens. So here are the questions that you would think about and write about as you set your timer for 3 to 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes per question, no holds barred. You just go for it. Sometimes it's helpful to have quiet music, non-lyrical music playing in the background to fuel some of your thinking. But the first section that Chris had us think about was, what in 5 years, what are you doing? Ideally, what is it that you are doing? What kind of work and career do you have? What's a typical day look like for you in 5 years? Not today, but in 5 years. What do we do? What do you do for relaxation, for inspiration? And fourth, what are you doing to contribute to a better world? 3 to 5 minutes on each one of these. Take out several pieces of paper and just let it flow. daydream, imagine what it all looks like in 5 years from now. The next section is, what kind of person are you? We all change and grow over time. So in 5 years, what have you accomplished? Where do you live geographically? Not what does your home look like? That's the next question. But where do you live? Do you live there 12 months out of the year? Or do you live in different places in different times of the year? Where do you live? What does your home look like? What does it smell like? What does it feel like? What does it mean to be at home? What are your most intimate relationships outside of your family like? Your coworkers or your colleagues, your friends, people you know in the community. What are those relationships like? And I might have skipped one. And what is your family like? Let me back up and just double check, make sure I didn't double click. What are you doing? What kind of person are you? Yes, these are out of order. I apologize. Dang it. So what do you have is supposed to be the second section, but you know what? It'll work either way. So the section on what do you have, this is getting at not just your material goods, but what do you have in terms of have within you and around you. So what is the quality of your life? What does that look like? How would somebody close to you describe you? This one is a super interesting question to just let your imagination go and say, how are people describing you in 5 years? Not today, in 5 years, how are they describing you? What are your physical and emotional states in 5 years? And this is in contrast to the next question of what are your mental and spiritual states. So we're breaking those two into, into two, if you will, in terms of what's your physical state, what's your emotional health like, and then what are your mental, intellectual, and spiritual states like. And then, as I said, that third section is around what kind of a person you are. So these 13 questions are really, really powerful to stop and consider, excuse me, because how often do we take time to think about this? We are so caught up in our day-to-day worlds that we don't think about it. We just move from pillar to post and get stuff done because that's what we have to do. You know, as I said, I'm really curious to go back and see how my answers have changed over time. Wondering if I've been consistent or maybe there's something new that bubbled up. That was just kind of sitting there and waiting. A lot of times when I've done this, there have been surprises and it's like, whoa, where did that come from? But I kind of like that. You may experience the same thing, and that's fun when something new percolates up. And so you might be wondering what came up for me. Well, it was interesting. Chris and others, when we do this, they encourage you to be daring, to really think outside the box. And so I doubled down on some of the goals for my business because why not? What the heck? Go for it, right? That's what we're here for. Think bigger than what maybe I have in the past, which was kind of fun and scary, but still fun. And then I started to really more seriously daydream about what the next chapter is for Eric and me. And now that our aspiring adult children are more fully flown and more far, God willing, far, far, far less likely to boomerang back. We already had our boomeranging phase where the children come back and bring pets you didn't know you wanted and things of that nature. But it really got me daydreaming about what does that look like for us. And some of those things really became more clear for me. And what was interesting is I know that those images had flitted through before, and before when they flit through, they kind of scared me. It's like, I don't know that I want to do that, but I'm not feeling that way anymore. So I'm like, well, heck yeah, why not? Let's do this. So I'm getting more excited about it, and that's pretty dang cool. So that is really what the tale of two aunts kind of brought full circle in this past week, where the reality of family and living a good long life, but we don't live forever, and being connected to those we love and those we work with and those we live with. It all comes together, and we have the power to really set the stage for our next adventures, whether that's retirement or something totally new and different that you hadn't really thought of you wanted to do, but now that spark came up because of maybe this exercise, maybe an experience that you've had lately that's triggered you to think maybe a little differently than before. And what might that next adventure look like for you? So we are at about time here. I would love, love, love you to stick around for our Ask Me Anything section of the show. I also want to let you know that at Providence Hill, we have a couple of workshops, but one in particular, I really encourage you to check out, and that is our Get a Grip workshop. Get a Grip on the Value of Your Business. It kicks off on July 7th. And for those of you that act fast and sign up for that July 7th class, we are offering a 10% discount for July only. It is a 7-week program, but don't get scared by that. It meets once a week for about an hour and a half. And in between, you at your own pace, enjoy little snippets of videos of material about how value is created in your business, and most importantly, how the value of your business really matters for your personal financial security, and how to start thinking about that now. So it really is a fantastic course hosted by Ray, my colleague, and his colleague as well, Kelly. I think you would enjoy it tremendously. So here is the details on where you can track that down. It is at www.providencehill.com/workshops, or you can click on this QR code and it'll take you directly to that page. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am Martha Sullivan, and this is Providence Hill Presents Exit Stage Right, where we talk about ways that you can buy, build, and sell your business to exit stage right and achieve that financial security you are looking for. So with that, I do want to say that I really have a great feeling about this. Go transform your business and, make it a better day. Thanks for joining us.
Kicking me out of my chair, dancing like I don't care. I've got that good feeling, shouting it out 'cause I can't contain